Today on Two Fat Guys Talk About Watches.
I'm sold.
I like that.
Rename it! Today we're talking Tudor. Zach and I have picked 3 watches that we feel very confident would make any collector very happy to have as they start into the Tudor brand. But before we get into our 3 picks, Zach, why don't you take us down history lane and let's talk a little bit about the company itself.
Sure. So Tudor was founded by Hans Wilsdorf in 1926. Hans Wilsdorf was the founder of Rolex originally, and it is a sister brand to Rolex. Their first watches actually didn't hit the market until 1932, and they were sold specifically to a jeweler in Melbourne, Australia called Catanax. And just a kind of a fun little story about that. The very first batch of watches that was sent to them was 10 watches, and 9 of them were branded with Catanax on the dial, and 1 was co-branded with Tudor. And when they sold through those, and it went pretty quickly from my understanding, the next batch, 2 were co-branded, and 8 just had Catanax. So initially, Rolex parts were used. You had cases, clasps, bracelets. It was basically a Rolex, except they had a Bausch movement, one supplied from something other than their in-house Rolex movements. And it was meant to be just an affordable version of the rough and tumble Rolex that Rolex initially was. And over the years, you slowly started them seeing do more and more in-house stuff. So by the last time that you would actually have a Tudor watch that had Rolex parts on it was the late 90s. And, these days, you've got their own in-house movements through Kinesi for a lot of their watches. It's all of Tudor's own production. It's not something that they're sharing with a sister brand. So something that maybe started out as Rolex's little brother, but has now really come into its own. And, it's a great brand. It's got a lot of value. There's a lot of stuff in their catalog to get excited about.
Absolutely, Zach. I consider Tudor a powerhouse. I really, really do. And I know they've got a lot of people are always going to look at them as the kid brother or the working man's Rolex or all of these other tags that get put on them. But to me, I absolutely love the Tudors that I have. I find myself wearing them constantly. I track my watches, and my second most worn watch is a Tudor. And hands down, it's for very good reason because they make a fantastic product. They really do. So we're going to get into our top 3. Now, these 3 have a lot in common and have a lot, that obviously separate them into their own categories that we found that would make very good reasons to wear them depending on what you do for a living or what you do for activities and sports and just your lifestyle. Zach, why don't you tell us about our number 1 pick?
So our number 1 pick, and in my opinion, it is truly the number 1, no matter what category you're talking about, is the Tudor Ranger. I just think it is an absolute monster of a watch. It offers a ton of value. You've got just a really, really versatile watch that you can wear every day. So give you some of the details of it. It's 39 millimeter case. It's got a fully satin finished bracelet. It's got the manufacturer MT5402 movement. It offers a 70-hour power reserve and a 20 millimeter lug width, meaning that you have a ton of straps at your disposal, giving it even more versatility on top of, it already being a great versatile watch. You do have the T-Fit micro adjustment clasp on the latest generation, 100 meters of water resistance. And, my favorite part about this watch is it's probably the most story-worthy Tudor, in my opinion. In 1952, Hans Wilsdorf, was looking for an opportunity to prove that Tudor was just as rugged as, the mainstay brand Rolex. So he partnered with the British North Greenland expedition, and he gave every member of that expedition a Tudor watch. I believe it was the Tudor Oyster Prince. I don't remember the exact reference number, but it looked fairly similar to the Ranger that we see today. But they had those watches for 2 years. They were subjected to temperatures as low as 50 below 0 Celsius. There's constantly moisture up there. You think of a vintage watch these days, like I'm wearing a JLC from the 50s right now, and I can't imagine this thing being subjected to water, but these watches made it through, all of the humidity that they were facing, extreme cold temperatures. Accuracy was consistent throughout the entire expedition. That was a big takeaway from it. But this is a watch that has proven history. And even though, again, the Ranger itself did not go on that expedition, the Tudor Ranger that we know today came out after the expedition, inspired by, how well Tudor had done during the trials that they faced during the British North Greenland expedition. So, Rob, what are your thoughts on the Ranger?
So I agree. The Ranger's definitely the number one. If you're going to go out and buy one Tudor watch today, I think the Ranger is definitely an amazing pick. I actually was in a Tudor boutique this weekend in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. I was there doing some business for the staffing company that I run or help run, and I held the Tudor in my hand forever, and my son was with me, and he was convinced I was going to buy this watch. He really was. It's one I haven't bought yet. And he actually told me afterwards he was just convinced that I was definitely going to buy it. And I tell you, as I was holding that watch, I was putting it on my wrist. It's 39 millimeter, and recently my wife picked up the Rolex Explorer 1. And, you can't help but compare. Now that we own that watch, and I was looking at this Ranger, I just kept thinking how similar these two watches really are. Everybody says that, but man, when you're sitting there apples to apples looking at them, I would be hard-pressed to say that if you knew nothing at all about watches at all, and we put the Ranger and Explorer 1 side by side, you didn't know what Rolex was, you didn't know what Tudor was, and we asked 100 people, you can have either one, pick one, I think we'd be surprised, Zach, at how many would walk away with that Ranger. If they didn't know, the names didn't mean anything to them, they were just strictly looking at the two products. I'm telling you, man, it is that good of a watch.
For sure.
It really, really is. I think that it is, it's arguably, you could really argue it being the first or second spot out of all field watches out there. It's walking away with a medal. It's going to be on one of those platforms, Now, you could argue that it is better or not as good as the Explorer 1. Okay. And I get the argument for it versus the Explorer 2, but you're not really, I think in production notes we were talking, I said, man, it's kind of like comparing a truck and an SUV. Yeah, they're kind of the same, but they're not really the same. It's kind of how I look at the Explorer 2 versus the Ranger. But if you're looking at Explorer 1 versus a Ranger, I think a lot of people would pick the Ranger. So for $3,725, good luck finding an Explorer 1 for that price. So I think it's got it on the price. I think it's got it on the name. It's definitely got it on the looks and the design and the feel. It looks like and feels like a watch you could strap on your wrist and take off hiking through the mountains for sure.
So our number 2 pick is the Black Bay 58 GMT. It's 39 millimeters. It's got the MT 5450U caliber, which is their in-house Kinesi movement, and it is master chronometer certified. So it's certified by Matos. It's guaranteed to run +5, -0 seconds per day, just like you get in almost every Omega at this point. It has a 20 millimeter lug width, so just like the Ranger, you've got a ton of versatility. You can put a ton of straps on it. You're, again, not going to have to worry about scratching it as much, but it does have some nice high polish features as well, so it's going to stand out and pop. It has the T-Fit clasp as well, so you do have micro adjustment built in, and it's just a great, versatile watch. Adds that GMT complication, which of course is nice if you're traveling. Rob, what are your thoughts on it?
So we have a good friend named Chris that is a subscriber to the channel and a good friend of Zach and I, and he has this watch. And I met him the other day for doing something, and he walked in, and man, it's like, hey, Chris, nice to see you. And I went straight to his watch, right? And it's just a really, really, really great look. So I love that it is partially polished and partially satin. To me, it is absolutely the go anywhere, do anything watch. I think I would wear that watch with a suit. I would also wear that with a pair of jeans and a t-shirt out working in the yard with the kids type thing. So I think that it is one of the most versatile watches out there. I strongly suggest it to people as a one and done watch, because I think it just fits so many different scenarios of whatever you do in life. You could run a Fortune 500 company and wear this watch, and you could be a college kid and wear this watch. It is the priciest of the group, but it does come with the certifications. It does come with the in-house movements. It's got so many bells and whistles for the $5,125. Also, don't sleep on that 20 millimeter lug. There, I just recently got into changing watch straps. Okay, I'm not. Zach does it for me because he's just less. He doesn't scratch the watches like I would. But anyway, and it's amazing. You get totally different looks for a $20 or $100 strap. Completely changes the watch. And there was a watch recently that I talked to Zach. I'm like, man, I bought this watch. I've never wore it once. I'm probably going to end up giving the watch away because I just don't like it. And we put a $50 strap on it, and it just completely morphed into a beautiful watch. So don't sleep on that. It's really cool to stay in that, that boundaries of being able to have that ability to bob and weave when it comes to it.
And before we move on to our last one, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the Black Bay 58 GMT also has 200 meters water resistance. So
absolutely. And it is known in the community as the Coke, and it definitely has the same look as other brands that use that nickname as well. But everyone pretty much calls it, because Black Bay has so many different categories within the parent category of Black Bay, that if you tell someone, hey, I've got a Tudor Black Bay, there's 40 watches that could be. Maybe it's not 40, but that's kind of where my mind goes. Or if you say, I got the Tudor Coke, I got you, and exactly what you're talking about. So to me, I think that the Ranger is definitely our first pick, but I think the Coke is right there behind it. If you're in a situation where you do dress up 50% of the time or a little bit more, you wear a sports coat or a suit, that Black Bay 58 may be a better option for you if you can swing the price difference. So we're down to our last watch. We're going to go in a completely different direction again. Zach, why don't you tell us what number 3 is?
our third pick is the Tudor 1926 41, specifically with the Opaline dial and the blue indices. So, as in the name, 41 millimeter case. It has their T601 movement, which is not an in-house movement. It's actually based on the Sleet SW200-1. It has pretty much all high polish finishes on this one, but just a great kind of dressy watch. It does have a 22 millimeter lug, so a little bit wider than the other two. However, still a very, very common lug width. You're going to be able to find a ton of straps to kind of mix it up. This guy has 100 meters of water resistance, and it does not have the T-Fit micro adjustment system. You generally are going to find that on their in-house movement calibers, so this one a little bit more of an entry-level watch, but still just a great place to start. I actually had a client that it was his first Tudor that he picked up maybe 3 weeks ago, and he is in love with it. He's been sending me pictures of it and enjoying it thoroughly, and he is a viewer of the channel, so won't call you out without asking permission first, but we appreciate you watching, and I'm so glad that you're still enjoying that watch.
So Zach, to me, this is the dress watch. It's the high polish. Don't think, and I can hear some people maybe thinking 41 millimeter for a dress watch. It really will go under any cufflink, I think, without really any big issue at all. It really does come across as a dress watch. I absolutely love the color of that Opaline and the blue indices. I just think that it really, really pops. And to be honest, if you're walking up to a display of Tudor, to me, my eyes always kind of go to that watch if there's one in the case. I mean, to me, it's got the brightest colors, and just the contrast of those two just work really, really well together. I love the design of that watch. The in-house movement is the in-house movement, or versus it being a Sleet or being an in-house. Some people don't even care about that at all. Some people really, really do care about that, and if that's the case, maybe this isn't the watch for you. But for $2,400, it is an absolutely stunner of a dress watch for that price point. I mean, it really does grab your attention and bring it in. And in today's society, where a lot of guys are wearing like navy blue suits or navy blue sports coats, the colors and design of that watch, to me, were designed for that look. It's really going to draw attention to the rest of your outfit, which if it's a dress watch, that kind of plays a pretty big part of your accessories that you're going to wear as a guy. So to me, definitely a good dress watch. The price is crazy hard to beat. It is still a good movement. You still get enough power reserve, and the one thing that stands out to it is the water resistance. And I think that for a dress watch to have 100 meters of water resistance is outstanding. I mean, probably one of my biggest pet peeves in the dress, sector of watches is almost no water resistance or very, very low water resistance. I don't want to think about a watch if I'm washing my hands or if it's raining outside or something like that. I just don't want to think that I'm going to damage this expensive item because I got caught in a rainstorm. And so it just takes care of that. You can wear that watch every day, and for most people, it's just the water's never going to be an issue. So that's our 3 today. We hope that out of those 3, if you're not familiar with them, that we've taught you something, or we've said something, or shown something in B-roll that maybe sparked your curiosity about it. Strongly suggest going into your local AD, checking them out. I would say with all 3 of those watches that we have mentioned today, they are better in person than they are in photography or online. That's been my experience. When I put all 3 of these on my wrist, I may have wanted it when I walked into the AD, but when I put it on my wrist, I really wanted it. And that is a big difference. I've had the opposite experience where you're thinking, oh man, I'm going to love this watch. And you get to the store and you put it on, you're like, it's just not for me. I just, the feel to it a lot of times can lose, or the color's just different in person than it is online. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with all 3 of these. So Zach, any other comments about Tudor? I know that we're both a little excited about next year being a 100-year anniversary.
Exactly.
So you go 1926 to 2026, and I just can't imagine a world where Tudor lets that go by with a dial change or something. I mean, it's got to be something amazing in the pipeline.
I bet it is, but I think what would be something cool for us to do is we keep our opinions to ourselves, and we let y'all let us know in the comments, what do you think Tudor's going to do for 100 years? What do we, is it going to be a variation of something we've already got? Is it a new model line? New complication?
A new movement?
Yeah. So why don't y'all let us know? And please, like, comment, subscribe. We greatly appreciate your time and you sticking through this video with us.
Go look at some Tudors.